Why does my laptop have to huff and puff? Can we get into MacBooks and how they're actually kind of trash? Listen to that. All I did was plug in my microphone and switch on GarageBand. My under eyes are starting to like tingle a little bit. And I'm not sure if that is what I really intended to have. But anyway, so today we're going to be talking about third spaces, yes, but not in the way that we usually think about third spaces. I want to talk about the third spaces online. As a self-proclaimed chronically online person, I just feel like I'm the right person to do the job. I know what I'm talking about here, and I just want to talk about, like, I don't know, the early internet and like the safe space that it was for some. Obviously some people got groomed into being school shooters, but like, as I'm sure most of you that are watching this are aware, TikTok has become so huge, and I actually spend like so much of my time on TikTok to the point where it's like, what happened to like living life? Like, what happened to anything? What happened to deciding to go on your phone to like search up a specific thing? You know, I just find myself sucked into that app for like hours and hours and hours on end. And like, don't get me wrong, there's like definitely pros to it. Like, if I need to know something very niche and specific, I will search on TikTok for it and I will find it. But when I think about how often I use the app, how much of that time is me actually looking for things and using it in a focused way? Zero, basically. What I also realized over time was that I would literally have thoughts, okay? Then I would go on the app and all of a sudden there's no thoughts. I would be like thinking about things, processing life, having creative ideas, and then I go onto the app and you're just stuck doom scrolling to the point where there's actually nothing to be thought about, there's nothing to say. I don't literally, I don't have words to finish my sentence. And like, people love to talk about influencer brain rot, but let's talk about the influenced, because my brain, I don't know how this brain is supposed to be writing a dissertation this year. Like, I really don't know. I don't trust it. I'll be real, but I have to do what I have to do. I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about how honestly soul-sucking it can be, because when you do get past all the pros, it's actually like, it's negative in the fact that you lose hours of your life to something, and it's like 1 out of 10, not even 1 out of 10, 1 out of like 50 videos is funny or like worth it or like educates you in some way. But when you're not on the app, you think, oh, I'm gonna be missing out, like I won't get the references, blah blah blah. People don't even talk about TikTok references in real life like that anymore, so I actually don't know what reasoning I have to be on there, you know. But it just made me think of the internet of the past, and like me as a Gen Z, like the kind of internet that I woke up, that I was raised on, was just like different. Like, I just feel like it started off as this kind of like, in my opinion, as in for me, my experience, it was just this kind of safe space bubble where I could watch videos about all these different books that I'd read and all these different fandoms that I was a part of, because and have connections and understand people, and people understand me, and like have pen pals and like people, online friends and shit, and I wouldn't feel as isolated, because in my real life there weren't a lot of people that shared the same hobbies as me. So I'm just like, am I just gonna be sat there like chatting about God knows what that I'm not interested in for whatever reason? When I think about the early internet, I always think about Tumblr specifically. Girl, I've been on Tumblr since like Lord knows when, and I've just always been a Tumblr girly, and not even in like a ED culture, like emo Tumblr. I've just always loved the peaceful, like solitude vibe of Tumblr. Tumblr then shaped me into the kind of person that it very much so was chronically online, because then I would have all my fandoms and like every single thing I ever cared about in one space, but I didn't have to share that with anyone. I wasn't like trying to virtue signal. I wasn't trying to be like, this is what I'm into and this is cool, because no, it doesn't matter. Like, I literally would find my people on there so easily. I grew up on the internet, and I say this in a way that I think that can only be understood if you are a child of like strict parents, or I don't know if it's a middle child thing, but like, I don't know, I wasn't able to be going out and socializing and all that stuff, and I didn't actually meet people beyond my little circle of like school friends. And so not only could I not really build like friendships and have hobbies kind of outside of my home, but also the people that I did have around me were into their very specific things. And so sometimes it was crossover, obviously, but there's a lot of things I just couldn't relate to people with, not in a like, oh my God, I'm so different kind of way. But yeah, at least for me, my experience of the internet of the past was Wattpad, Episode, Tumblr, Instagram fan accounts, Twitter fan accounts. Like, I was the type of person that, and now I don't know if it's an ADHD thing because I have recently been diagnosed with ADHD, but literally, I don't even know, since whatever age, I've always had one obsession or another. Whether it was like a certain book series and characters that I was obsessed with, Marvel movies or K-pop, I would be obsessed with things to an absurd kind of level, to the point where I need to get that energy out somewhere. And so I would create a fan account. And like, I had a fan account for Marvel, and well, it started off originally as a Nick Robinson fan account. What was I doing with my time? I don't know. Anyway, started off as a Nick Robinson fan account, and then it morphed into a Marvel fan account, and it was called like Spidey Barnes, something like that. Anyway, as you can imagine, I was obsessed with Bucky Barnes. Bucky Barnes, that's so weird to say. Bucky Barnes. Anyway, Bucky, what the fuck? I haven't even said that word out loud for a long time. Anyway, I was obsessed with Sebastian Stan. So obviously, I had this page dedicated to like all my favorite things, and it had like 700 followers, and I would just be posting on there, like shit posting edits, blah 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 blah. And it was through like fandoms like that and like being such a fangirl that I ended up gaining a lot of skills randomly, as in basically being my own like social media manager, but also learning how to edit and use After Effects, Video Star to make edits. That was crazy. That was actually a crazy time. I was out here doing friggin' motion graphics and shit so that I could be like, yeah, my bias is what's his name now? Taeyoung. My bias is Taeyoung. Or I'd be like, yeah, I love the Winter Soldier. Nick Robinson, ride or die. Like, what are we talking about? And it was that kind of thing where you dedicate this kind of insane level of learning and detail to something just because you're such a big fan of like whatever it is or whoever it is. Anyway, what am I talking about? When I say the word chronically online, and for this video specifically, I mean the kind of people that use the internet as the third space that we tend to be missing in real life. So a third space is a location that facilitates social interaction outside of the people you live with, work with, and encourage public relaxation. I don't know what that would even, like, I genuinely don't know what that would even be like. Where are we going? I'm not going to the pub, but that's what it's given. Pints and chit chat. So while real community is still built in real life, I think that people that have like niche interests or struggle with their mental health, anxiety, don't want to go outside, will struggle to actually have that kind of interaction. And I think because humans are such social creatures, not having those interactions kind of contributes to a lot of loneliness, depression, feelings of unworthiness, because it's like, why doesn't anyone want to be my friend, but also you didn't go outside. But anyway, so I think that like something we should talk about like in general, as the internet seems to like advance beyond what we're even like capable of understanding, is that especially as things like meta start to come about, it's very much giving the internet as a place, not just a thing, especially when it's a time like a pandemic, for example, where you would have people being so creative and making videos and talking about things that are so relatable at that time because we were all going through the same thing. But also for some people, they somehow get into this pit that can be very unhealthy. And yeah, it can range from things like, we're talking about ED culture, but it can also be like, oh, you're getting radicalized on the internet. I think that's something really important that we need to like talk about going forward, is like internet safety, but not in a way where it's like, don't tell anybody your address, and use an avatar, don't use your, because like it's beyond that now. It needs to be, how are we gonna avoid people spiraling into these really unhealthy little pits of the internet while still allowing free speech? Because who decides what is this pit? You know what I mean? I don't know. It's really actually hard to think about. I just think, considering we end up spending hours of our day on the internet or like TikTok, it's a good thing to like critique what it is that you're putting your time into. Especially because I think that like we as like, let's say you're like a Gen Zer, you think that you're kind of beyond what like the WhatsApp aunties are doing, but actually it's giving the same thing just through TikTok. I know so many people, and even me myself included sometimes, that can see something on TikTok and just believe it like it's fact. And this is where it's like, what happened to the news? What happened to like reliable sources of information? But I think as well, the older we get, we can kind of get disillusioned by everything, because yeah, the news can be fact checked, you know, you'd hope, but it can also be very skewed. Like when we're looking at like the reportings on like what's going on with Israel and Palestine, for example, it literally just depends on like where you look, how they're gonna paint the same picture. Or like when there's a crime where the perpetrator is a white person versus a black person, the headlines, sorry. And this is like where I understand why people want to even avoid these kind of streams of information, because you can see that it's skewed. I get it, but I also think turning to TikTok for like the truth or your Bible, I wouldn't do it. And you've got to think like our attention is actually being bought at all times. Every single thing that we do on the internet is being passed along to third parties to create better ads for us. And if you start consuming a certain form of content, it just gets pushed back out to you. So it's like, let's think about what we're consuming, you know, because it's very easy to get in a hole. So the reason I wanted to talk about Tumblr specifically is it kind of feels like a unique social media site or something like that. Because unlike other social media sites like Facebook or like Instagram or Twitter, for example, the profiles that you have and like the feed that you have, it's not really like public facing. Like you're not expected to have a public profile with like your actual face on there. So like you don't see who Tumblr accounts follow, you don't see who their connections are, you just see what they post, what they reblog, and it kind of feels like this kind of insular space where we're just vibing. Like I'm not trying to be like, here's where I went on holiday and I'm living life so well. On Tumblr, I'm talking about my deepest, darkest fears, and I'm also reblogging like, oh, the interior of that house is cute. Do you know what I mean? It's this kind of thing where it's just like stream of consciousness. It feels like Pinterest in a way to me, where I'm just kind of vibing. Especially as a book girly, you get to just like hear the most insane things about book characters that you actually kind of relate to, and you get to see different like aesthetic things and like fashion things, food, and like interior again, or like quotes, and you get to just kind of say whatever. And I feel like there was always a kind of knowledge that whatever you say on Tumblr just kind of goes into the void. Like something goes viral on Tumblr, unless it's like screenshot and posted on Instagram, like it usually doesn't go viral outside of Tumblr. It just feels like this little community. It feels like a village, whereas I feel like Instagram or like Twitter and things feels like a whole country or like a city. Do you know what I mean? It's a whole different vibe. And I sometimes I think it's like a part of the design of it. Most of the time you've got that like dark blue vibe, and you kind of just scrolling at night, and it feels like you're just like in this secret little pocket where like you're just kind of hanging out, and like you can talk about whatever. Granted, there are always issues with any platform because people always take it too far. People get messed up, and the thing is, people are messed up, and so they are messed up, and then they post their messed up things on the internet. So I get it. But for me, Tumblr was always just a safe space. I don't think there really are influences on Tumblr like that. It feels like if you do have influences on Tumblr, that it's like someone's cool older sister. Like you get influence, but it's not like they're constantly buying your attention. You're just inspired by what it is that they give, the vibe that they give, things that they're into. And it's so funny though, because when I was growing up, there was a few different like Tumblr accounts that I was like, wow, this is who I need to be. Which obviously you're growing up, you're finding your identity. I didn't need to be that person, but there was a Tumblr account that I used to follow back in the day. This is when I was in my K-pop era, and it was just this girl that I thought was like the coolest person ever. And like it gave, oh, like if Mark Lee actually appeared to you, I believe that he would want to date you. And I think that it was a kind of like, maybe it was like a jealousy thing at the same time as like a revering someone thing. But it was so funny because she was one of those people, and she would write, I know this sounds crazy, but like she would write like book level fan fiction, in the sense of like, oh, so do you have an English degree, or like are you already taking a writing course, because it was amazing writing. And it was so funny because she was such like a prominent person in our little bubble of the internet, so inspired by everything that she did, everything that she liked, her aesthetics, how she would write. And then one day she was just like, guys, I'm deleting this. Like, I'm not trying to be doing this anymore. If you reblogged any of my posts, please like undo it, kind of thing. Because when you reblog something, that's like permanently there. Even if the account disappears, it's still there. So when she was like, I'm out of my fanfiction era, everyone just undid their reblogs, and like that was it. It was like she didn't exist. But what's so funny is that eventually at some point we followed each other on Instagram, and like I still see her posts and I still see her live like a regular life. Obviously we're both not really like K-pop super fans anymore, so it's just like so funny to be like, there was a time when you were basically an influencer on Tumblr. Everyone was obsessed with you and everything that you wrote, and then now you're just like posting about going to uni and like, oh, these are me and my friends going out. It's so weird. Like nobody but me, her, and like a couple of other people that were obviously following her, that ended up following her Instagram, know about this. No one's going to bring it up. We're not going to discuss the fact that like I used to follow you in your Tumblr era, and I bought some photo cards off you, and like now we follow each other. And I haven't unfollowed her, and I don't think I will unfollow her, because it's just like it's a random little like thing from a pocket of time that I haven't experienced in a while. But yeah, one of the things that I loved about Tumblr was the fact that I just felt like I could be completely myself, especially in an era where I was very much so in my like people pleasing moment. I just feel like all the time that I spent on Tumblr was the time that helped me to discover like what my tastes were, the books that I liked, and I just got to speak about everything that I ever cared about in such an unfiltered and like human way. There's something about feeling so watched and perceived these days with social media where I barely even post anymore, because it just feels like, I don't know, like we're all like competing to be like casually cool. I didn't even try, but like I just effortlessly like look this cool. My outfit was just this cute naturally because that's just how I am. Or like, I don't know, I'm just gonna post this perfectly curated dump and make you think that like, yeah, my life is just this cool and like aesthetic, and like I'm just always out hanging with friends. Do you know what I mean? And like, I don't know, I just feel like everything now is something where you have to kind of like follow your friends on there unless you're kind of being weird. Like if I make a TikTok account, my friends are gonna follow me, and so if I want to be silly on there, I don't feel like I can be silly because I feel like I'm being watched. Whereas on Tumblr, there's nobody watching me. It's just me, and it's not even the kind of place where you have that weird like value placed on how many followers you have. At least for me, because girl, I'm shouting into the void. Who will be following me? Do you know what I mean? It's like a journal. And I miss that era of the internet where you could just, it's like I'm just hanging out. I am in that era where I would just be reblogging like the deepest things ever, and then like reblog a meme next. And I'm taking inspiration for like the kind of woman I want to be from the women that I grew up around on the internet. And you know, we're in school and we're waiting for like one of our friends to update their next chapter on Wattpad. Like it's just, it feels so innocent and like free. And I wonder if it is that kind of thing of like, looking back, you don't actually remember all the details of things, so it just feels more nicer and more wholesome and more nostalgic than it actually really is. But I also kind of don't think so. I know that for me, my experience in the internet was so, I don't know, I had a good time on the internet. I don't even think it was because I was like such an internet legend in the sense of like staying safe. I think that I did stay safe, but like, I don't know, my time of the internet when I was younger was literally just me being like, how can I get After Effects for free so that I can edit together videos of Marvel characters? Or being like, guys, I'm obsessed with this book and this character is my book boyfriend, la la la, making YouTube videos and like talking about my favorite books and making the stupidest lookbooks the world has ever seen. But like, I was just vibing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I kind of want to be shameless again. I've acquired so much shame for whatever reason. And I'm thinking about like all these different people's opinions that I shouldn't have to think about. Because it's like, who in my real life am I actually surrounded by? It's like two people. And those people who love and care about me are the people whose opinions I should hold on to. But hey, the idea of having people or like community with your niche interests can't, the value of that can't be reduced. Like, I just feel like I would have felt even more alone and more isolated if I didn't have those online third spaces where I got to express myself freely in a way that I didn't feel like I could express myself in real life. Granted, that was all like sunshine and rainbows to me because I was trying to express the fact that like my book boyfriend was re-signed, or Will Herondale from Cassandra Clare's books. You know what I mean? I wasn't trying to be like, let's go shoot up a school. So, you know, people have different experiences. That's all I can say. But I also don't think that because there are those extremes that I need to like say that the internet is a bad place, because it's kind of like any tool. It depends on what you do with it that determines whether or not it's a bad place. And I don't think that TikTok is the third place that I would want to be in, because you get so much information. You don't get to just have slow consumption. You're consuming so much information, so many ideas of like what people say you should wear, what people say you should eat, what people say you should do. And like you don't even know who you are anymore, you know? I don't know. And I feel disillusioned with social media in general. Like, I don't even want to create things anymore because I forget, like, I just feel like there's so much pressure. We were getting educated on like internet safety as kids and like what the internet should be like and what our experiences will be. And then we've just kind of let it drop. Now we're just kind of fully embracing it. I think that we should learn to touch grass again, basically. But I know that this is the era that we're in. We are in the era of the internet being a space, a thing, a place. So I think that if you do have a third space somewhere, make sure it's a place that you can like actually curate, and a place that is safe for you. Like, it's somewhere like Pinterest or like Tumblr, like we're actually just kind of like consuming things slowly, and we're not having to do the whole comparison rubbish. We're just like taking inspiration and like having a little silly laugh about this and talk about your deepest, darkest feelings. But you can do it because it's the void, because who's gonna know? I just feel like I miss that kind of third space. And I don't know if this was the original aim of what I was gonna say, but I just think now there's nothing wrong with a little influencer or two. Do you know what I mean? Get your back. It's not every day that you have to watch something that's curated by like big companies, big like oligarchs or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Watch someone make whatever bullshit they're making and get sponsored by Pixie. Do you know what I mean? But I think that even influences aside, we should be able to just like consume media slowly again. And I think that it's important to remember that a phone is supposed to be a tool, not like a literal portal where we just disappear. And I think that it's actually very worrying because it's becoming so normalized for it to be a portal that we just disappear into. And I think that if it is going to be a portal that we disappear into, we need to think critically about what that portal is and what effect it's having on us, on mental health, what we're into, everything. I think that I'm going back to Tumblr. I like to say that I miss the Tumblr days, but I'm going back there because it still exists. The space for you is what you make it, what you do with it. And since the internet is such a big part of our lives, let it be a part of our lives in like a good way, a healthy way, the most that we can control. Do you know what I mean? Thank you so much for watching this video. And also thank you for 1,000 subscribers, because listen, I've been wanting 1,000 subscribers for ages and I didn't think it was possible. And now it is possible. I'm not posting. But anyway, here's to me getting back to it, hopefully. If you haven't subscribed though and you're watching this video and you got to the end, like, you might as well just click subscribe. I'm just saying, like, it's there. Just, yeah, you know you want to do it, so just press it. Okay, I need to like actually take this off because it's like it's molded to my face now.